Hello, Jack Army, and welcome back to actually the first episode of a new season. This is your Stateside Jacks podcast, and I am your host, Mark. And luckily for me, I don't have to do this on my own. I am joined by fellow Stateside Jack members, Mike and Brendan. As always, just like we've done last season, we will do the best that we can to cover the most recent news related to Swansea City in our own way, and we hope you enjoy the show. Gentlemen, welcome back to a second season of Stateside Jacks podcast.
Great to be back.
How are we feeling?
Fantastic.
Good. I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah, it's good to be back with you boys. It means the Swans are back. So
Swans are back. We're back into it. Happy days ahead of us despite this past weekend's results. But there's so much to talk about. So I kind of want to get right to it. Let's get over some Swansea non-related news. And for those at home, just mind you, we're going to be covering everything that's happened over the summer up until today, August 9th, 2021. So things may not be chronologically in order, but we're going to try highlighting some of the bigger news that's happened over the summer, this very short window from our unfortunate defeat to now. So anyways, something that I found pretty interesting is the stadium announcement. And I know, Brendan, we could talk about that because I know you had some interesting feelings and thoughts about the renaming of Liberty Stadium, which is now Swansea.com Stadium. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I think is what's wrong with it is it just sounds a little goofy. Swansea.com Stadium just sounds a little odd. But other than that, I mean, I've just been seeing people on social media like, this is the worst thing they could have done. This is terrible. Like, I mean, I feel like we're all going to call it the Liberty anyway, which is regardless. But, it's a local, the town, the city is Swansea. So local city, local website. And it's not a betting sponsor. So, it could have been a lot worse. It could be the Bet365 stadium like Stoke has. It could be, a lot worse. So I think, it brings money in. It's local. It's not something ridiculous. So I am really okay with it.
Yeah, I am too. Sorry, Mike. But yeah, I definitely am too. I know there were some reservations because I believe, at least according to what I read on Twitter, right? Because Twitter is the most factual information we can get our hands on these days. I believe the owner of Swansea.com was a former owner of the team at some capacity and like kind of did some shady stuff behind closed doors. But I'm kind of echoing Brendan's comments here. Like it could be named something a lot worse than that, like AT&T. Like some of the teams here in America play at actual like really strange names stadiums, and I'm okay with it being Swansea.com. I think stadium's kind of a lame way to write it off, but it's not an arena, so I guess it's appropriate to say it's a stadium. But Mike, what are your thoughts?
Honestly, I'm not too concerned about it, honestly. Swansea.com Stadium does sound very odd, very goofy. When they announce that over like any broadcast, it's going to sound very odd. It's super clunky. But at the same time, I mean, as a supporter, I'm always just going to call it the Liberty. Also didn't realize that was a part of just like a sponsorship deal where they had the naming rights, Liberty, some investment type company. So, I mean, at that point, I thought it was just the Liberty Stadium, not any like affiliation to a company. So at that point, it doesn't stick as hard. It's kind of similar to like Chicago. Sears Tower being renamed to the Willis Tower to being renamed as something else now. Like no one calls it that. Like if like you're a Chicagoan, like you just call it the Sears Tower. At the end of the day, we're going to call it the Liberty, and it always will be the Liberty. So not too affected by it.
Yeah. One other thing with that is like, for the listeners and other people watching and whatnot, like I would love to come up with like a cool name for the Liberty. Like, how like stadiums here have like kind of like a, like kind of like a fortress sort of name to them. Some sort of website built or something cool, like, some sort of nifty name would be cool to have for that too.
Do you have an example like that? Because like, I guess like the Prudential Center is the Rock. So I guess that makes sense. I get what you're saying.
Stuff like that.
Cool. But yeah, let's move on a little bit. Marc Allen announced as the new sporting director. Seemed to be a pretty favorable announcement by those who paid attention to the club and some of the signings. I personally don't know enough about Marc Allen, but if the masses seem to be happy with it, then I guess it's a good thing. I don't know if either of you had any knowledge about Marc Allen or know anything about him. No, look at shaking heads. No, that's fine with me.
I mean, he was a former sporting director for Rangers, I believe it was.
Oh, okay.
So he has some like background experience, and I know he's worked with our academy, I believe, previously. So, I mean, have some trust behind him. I don't think we've had someone in that role since, was it Liam Britton was the last one?
Jeez, was he?
Yeah,
Dang.
and he was only there for like 9 months or so. So
If that, yeah.
yeah, so
Speaking of
it's nice
Leon,
having someone filling in, or Leon, sorry.
I'm happy to see him back, like, around the club and like working with the club again on some things. And for those of you who didn't have the opportunity to attend, we did have the Legends Forum a couple weeks ago, hosted by Catherine Thomas, who a friend of the show, Leon Britton, Alan Curtis, Wyndham Evans, and Lee Trundo. That was pretty awesome to see the Global Swans Initiative really working with the fans and the club to provide experiences for those around the world to feel a little bit closer to the club. So big shout out to the team for doing that for all of us. And that was the one day that I finally got verbal confirmation and now witnesses that Alan Curtis and I did have a drink at a bar in Milwaukee. So there's that. So I'm not. There was no lying when I said that the first time. And we have a new manager. Mike, let's talk about the new manager. Who is he?
So we have Russell Martin coming in the club from MK Dons. He is supposedly supposed to restore the Swansea way tactically, very pass heavy, offensive minded, likes to run the 3-5-2. He actually, I think his club at MK Dons set the record for most passes in one possession of a goal. I think it was like 59 passes in one possession before.
I watched the whole video. It was incredible.
Yeah. So he is supposed to be just a masterclass in offensive strategy, which will really change how we view the club after watching Steve Cooper hoofball. Honestly, respect the hell out of Steve Cooper. Love the fact that he could bring us back to back playoff runs, comes so close to Premier League last year, but I think it was just getting stale. And although it might not quite get the results that we had from last season, I think that it'll just be enjoyable again to watch a team that's not like making you want to like jam your head through a wall, even after like 3 points. 1-0 defeats where we're just chucking the ball into the box and then sitting on our heels wasn't quite the most enjoyable. So I'm really excited to see what he can implement. And I mean, he's only been with the club for like a week and a half. So let's see what he can do.
Yeah, speaking to Steve Cooper, sorry, Brendan, I'll go back to you in a second. I had a chance of meeting some people over the weekend from Swansea, and they provided me some more insights to the whole Steve Cooper bit. So please don't quote me and think that this is exactly what happened. But it turned out that Cooper was looking for a long-term deal with the team, and the club wasn't prepared to give him the sum that he was looking for. And I think it's because the team was receiving so much pressure from the fans based on the style of play, where I do believe that Steve Cooper definitely had ground to stand on. Because listen, 2 years in a row, you make it to the playoff semifinal, and then the playoff final the year right after that, playing the style of football that he's been playing. It clearly worked to a degree. It may not have been beautiful, but it got us there. You know what I mean? So I think he figured, hey, if I can leave here on top, saying that I came to the playoffs twice and once to the final, then maybe he can find a new job somewhere else. And I believe it wasn't until the team kind of was just like, we're not going to give you that money, is when he started looking around for other stuff. And that's when the news and rumors of like him going to Palace and a couple other places ended up arising, which ultimately kind of interesting, right? Like the fact that like Gallagher ended up at Palace, and I forgot who else joined him. Gahey, former Swansea. And it's just like, imagine what could have been if Cooper ended up there also with them again. Like that would have been, the conspiracies would have been through the roof at that point, right? But yeah, thank you, Cooper, for everything that you did for us. Wish you all the best in the future. But it is Russell Martin's time to shine. It's going to be fun. I know we're going to talk about it in a second here about the patience that is of Swansea fans, because I don't believe there is much of it. But we'll get to that in a second. But Brendan, I know you were trying to say something before.
Yeah, no, just with Russell Martin come in his first interview hearing, and even listening to his previous interviews at MK Dons, there's one word that he screams, and it's just perfect for what we're looking for, and the word's identity. A passing team, possession team, gonna have the ball a lot, create chances, and he's really gonna grow that into this team, and you've kind of seen that even being in charge for 5 days. Now I'll go into more about the game stuff when we get there, but there is going to be an identity. There's going to be some sort of what we're doing on the practice pitch is going to work in the game. They're going to be practicing that, and like you're saying with Steve Cooper, as great as he did, there wasn't anything to look forward to in the actual game itself. And Russell Martin, I think, is going to excite us. And that game was so exciting to watch. And I thought it was, more exciting than a lot of the games last year, even though we lost, because there was an identity out there. I could kind of tell what we were doing. So, I'm super excited for the future. I think he's going to bring us good things. Just got to preach patience.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the other like potential reasons that Swansea like leadership could have been hesitant about offering that extension to Steve Cooper is he was having so much success, largely in part to the fact that he was bringing in all of these loanees, where most of these loanees were like in connection to his time as like the English U18 coach,
U17,
U17, yeah. And I mean, think about how quickly that well is going to be drying up as all these players start to get older. Where are all these connections going? Like obviously Gahey's at Crystal Palace now, Gallagher also at Crystal Palace, Ryan Brewster, Sheffield United, like his like well of loan players that he could potentially bring to the club was slowly dwindling. And that was just such a key part of the team. So I'm hoping that Martin will be able to like develop our own players, as well as we're finalizing a deal for Ethan Laird from Manchester United, player that he had on loan at MK Dons, to come in to play kind of like that outside wing back, probably take not in spot currently, where Connor Roberts will be back playing. So already in the transfer market, already helping out with loans. He said that he's getting financial backing from the owners, which we hear that. They said that
I've heard that one before.
Yeah, but they said there's more investment back into the club. Obviously, these are just buzzwords that they like to toss at us, even though most fans don't believe anything they say. So I'm excited. New season, new manager. I feel like it was time for Cooper to go, that you could tell the team was fading and we're finally getting an identity. So let's see what happens.
So let's talk about this identity and this alleged patience that Swansea City fans have, right? Because obviously the Swansea way is pretty much embedded in what it is to be a fan of Swansea. That's why most people who are outside of the city become fans of the team, is because of this beautiful style of passing soccer and possession-based soccer, or footy, however we want to describe it. But here's my beef, right? For years now, we were like, okay, we were in the Premier League for a while. We come back down. All right, let's have patience. Patience kind of went out the window despite results, in my opinion. Like I felt like when things were going bad and when there was a loss, even if it was a 1-0, all hell truly would break loose on social media from Swansea fans, right? I don't know how long the patience is going to last with our fan base, right? Like, what does that look like? What does patience look like as a fan? Is it a whole season? Like, are people going to be okay if the team finishes in 16th place this year? Are the fans going to be okay if we only spend, what is it, $4.5 million in a transfer window? Like, are the fan, like, what is it like? Because here's my thing, right? Like, as a fan, I'm a Nick fan, so y'all know I already know pain and I already know what rebuild process means, right? So as a fan who's saying, okay, it's time to rebuild, it's trying to bring an identity, that doesn't happen overnight. That doesn't happen in a couple games, it doesn't happen in a couple months. It takes years. The Knicks haven't made a playoff appearance from last year for 6 years. You get what I'm saying? Like that doesn't happen overnight. So like, how long is this patience supposed to span for? How long do we wait?
I think it's a pretty good analogy with the Knicks and rebuilding and stuff like that, but I just think it moves a lot quicker in the sport of soccer. I think that we give him 6 to 8 weeks because everyone uses a different formation, because everyone has different styles of play, especially every manager. It's just very different when it comes to like something like basketball. There's 5 versus 5 and everyone's kind of running the same game. So it's about players. It's about, what type of player that is. More as in over there, it's like, okay, what type of player fits to my style of play? And I think if he gets the guys in this window, I think everyone will be kind of happy and things will be moving forward. But, like you said, how long is that patience going to be if things don't go right? Right. If we bring these guys in and they don't work out, or we end up not bringing anybody in and we finish mid to, lower table. So I just think we give it 6 to 8 weeks, see where it goes, see what's going on. And then I think we really assess the situation of what, this year is going to bring us.
So I'm gonna double down here for a second. If you could pick one of two, right, like the red pill and the blue pill, would you rather the team spend a lot of money and then say to hell with the patients and demand results, or would you rather the team save their money, remain profitable, right? Even because we're still in COVID, we don't know what's gonna happen in the future with Delta, and play mid-table football. Like, what do you prefer?
I think we're already on track for mid-table football anyway. So like we're not, we lost our top goal scorer with Andre Ayew, who literally did so much for the team last season. Also, God bless you on Andre Ayew, gonna miss you.
Yeah.
I think there's some patience behind what's going to occur this year, like a lot of it. We are projected to finish probably bottom half of the table in majority of predictions. Most Swansea fans have been fairly, real with themselves where we're going to be. Could I see us potentially top 6? Sure. I think we still have a lot of talent. Do I think that the philosophy behind Steve Cooper brought out the most in our players? No, I don't. I think that this is something where we're kind of in uncharted territories, and there's such a desperation for the club to go back to that Swansea way that we're identified as. And I think there has to be patience there, because if we don't go with that patience, then where are we going to be at? We're going to end up sacking him and then desperately trying to find someone who's going to play exactly the same style that Steve Cooper did, because that's exactly what you do when you're in a relegation battle.
So how do you define a successful season then, right? Like, with patience in mind, right? Like say he brings in a couple more players, say 3 or 4 players, and maybe even a real striker in this transfer window. What does a successful season look like for us? Is it top half? Is it playoffs? Like, because thinking about it, right? This is as a reminder for those listening at home. I know a lot of you guys are listening from Swansea, but this is an American podcast, and most of the American fan base has only known either the Premier League or upper echelon of the championship, right? So this would potentially be the first year where we really see something where we could be in the bottom half of the championship. So this is a new uncharted territory for a lot of fans here in the States. So I guess I'm gonna lean on you two here because you guys are here on the state side with me. What does a successful season look to y'all? So for those at home, could potentially mentally prepare themselves for something that they've never seen before.
For me, it's almost not necessarily about how many points we get or what place we finish, but it's about that growth. I mean, we're going to have one of the youngest teams, I mean, outside of 1 or 2 players out there, but it's about that growth in like coming to the end of the season being, okay, yeah, we know what we're going to for next season is going to be great. I don't expect us to go up this year, nor should really anybody. Got to be realistic, but we have to bring a new manager in and set ourselves up. And, you know, if we come out of this year and we're like, oh, like we finished mid-table, but like we're really building something here and we've got a great core and that can push us to next year, I just find that as a successful season. Now, everyone defines that successful different. You know, if we're not top 6, it's not a successful season. If we're not, you know, top 8 or whatever anybody says, and I understand that, you know, we can run on that. But for me personally, I think the growth aspect of it is a lot more important.
Yeah, and I think in every aspect that we overachieved these past 2 seasons. Do I think that we deserve half the results that we got under Cooper? No, I don't. I think honestly, like, soccer is a lucky game, football, whatever you want to call it, it's a lucky game. And I think that we had a lot of luck. Defensively, we are carried by some stellar defenders, by the Golden Glove winner, Freddie Woodman. So there's just or the post quite a bit, or 90th minute magic PKs. There's just a lot where we shouldn't have really finished as high as we did. And I honestly think same thing with Brendan, like success is staying up, competing mid-table, maybe competing upper half of the table. And honestly, I just want to see that identity again. We haven't seen identity in 2 years, and it's honestly more frustrating than getting that result sometimes.
It is.
Yeah. No, I could definitely understand that. And that's awesome. But to move on a little bit here, so we can get the show moving forward. Some Stateside Jack related news. If you are a Stateside Jack member and are registered on our website, please check your email. A very important email went out this past Friday. Keep an eye out for that. And also, we have
Show it to him, Mark.
Jack's pint glasses. They are fantastic. Love them. So happy to have them. I think they're like $14 for a glass, which is like
on the way.
Pretty cheap and fair in my opinion. I know a couple of the chapters are buying glasses for their home bars to have them at the bars, which is pretty cool. But yeah, definitely get yourself a glass. Support us, support the pod, support the group. It really goes a long way. But some awesome news, pseudo awesome because we ended up losing, but we have a game to talk about.
We do.
So let's get into it. Brenda's bringing us into this past weekend.
Yes. So just kind of to start, I was talking to you guys a little bit before we started recording here, but I'm going to do the games a little bit different where I'm not going to be so cut and dry about what went on in the game. I'm kind of just going to be more, conversational. But yes, like you said, we lost 2-1. But at, more positive notes, it was the first game of the year. The season's back. It's good to see the boys out there on the field. But yeah, 2-1 loss with the first goal, Gallagher. You could feel it coming. Bad passes everywhere. They were just building up, had chances before that. I think they hit the bar before that. So you kind of feel it coming. And when it went in, you were just like, at least that's over. But with the second one, it was like, damn, like we're really struggling sometimes defensively with Benda making the mistakes. And with that being said, it comes with, time and experience and something that he hasn't had. And he'll learn from that. But, the pressure again had been building. They were on us and he turned it over and set up a pen. But even though we lost the ball over 20 plus times, at least 20 plus times, I do see where Russell Martin's going with the identity of passing the ball around and creating space and getting that possession. The only problem with that is Bennett and Cabango are not play out of the back center backs. And we need somebody badly who can control the ball back there and go up and make plays. And I saw Cabango do it once where he dribbled it up at the halfway line and threw a great ball over top. But other than that, we just can't commit turnovers. 469 passes completed, 81% pass accuracy, 72% possession. These are things we want. These are great numbers. Just got to execute. We're not executing, but they're things to build off of.
Can we talk about this play out of the back style that we saw this past weekend? Because first off, some of those passes into the back were abysmal.
They were ridiculous.
Secondly, forgive me for having PTSD of thinking of Paul Clement playing out the back style soccer, because that's what was scaring me a little bit. Because I know last season we were talking about how we really don't do well playing out the back. We didn't last year. I don't think that's going to be the case again this year. But if that's the style, I think Ben, again, needs to have that confidence. It was pretty clear, again, every time that ball was at the bottom of his foot, he was like hesitant about what to do, right? And even going back to that Sam Gallagher goal, Benda made the first save. That was a solid save that he made. And I think he hesitated. Like, he tried to get big, right? And Mike, obviously you being the former goalkeeper, getting big in front of your target to make the goal seem a lot smaller was definitely the play. I just feel like he knew the moment he opened his legs that he was getting nutmegged.
Yeah, he was
you could see it in his
too.
face, like his frustration that he knew that he played that wrong. Because like you've seen goalkeepers play with the tight legs, but their arms out wide and their knees are close together to play a different style of getting big in front of the goal. So I was curious to know your thoughts behind his first stop and then the rebound. Like, what's the mentality that goes into that?
I mean, you initially you just have to make that first save. I mean, honestly, half the time when you're that close, you kind of just expect it to be a brick wall and it kind of to rebound off you. You never know exactly where it's going to go. That's just difficult. I mean, Benda had a hell of a game. I believe that he's going to be the starting keeper throughout the season. Obviously he had that one big blip where he gave up the penalty, was in the shower at the time when that happened. So miss that ugliness. Besides that, I mean, he had a hell of a game, like looked phenomenal. They said like when he was in League One, his distribution was pretty much like what set him apart a lot of times from the goalie. And I mean, he looked very comfortable in goal. He had a lot of really good saves. He was the only one that kept us in the match for the most part. So I really think that he'll be solid throughout. And I mean, you're going to make some mistakes. I think first start in the championship for him, like it's a nerve wracking, like first time having fans back in a year and a half. Even though their fans were pretty silent for the most part of the game. I still thought he looked pretty solid. And
despite his blunder, he still was the keeper of the week. He still made it to the championship team of the week, which is awesome. So shout out to Steve Benda. And I know there's so many fans who have been screaming for him all year last year, because again, the issue with Woodman's distribution
There's
seems
a
to be
breath
something that
of
we've
fresh air.
rectified. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's been nice, and I felt comfortable with him.
Well, the thing about it too with Benda and him getting, keeper of the week in the championship team of the week is I don't know if you guys have read any of the comments yet, but I knew right when he made it, I was like, oh, these comments are about to be great. Just scrolling through them, and everyone's like, what is Benda doing on here? He gave up a pen, like made a foul. It's like, you can easily tell who watched the game or not, because if you watched the game, you rated him. If you didn't watch the game and just saw it based off of stats, you thought he played the worst game ever. So I just thought it was really funny. It didn't like mean much, but I thought he played phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, just some comments I have just on various players. I think Ladabodier definitely needs to get to develop on it. I could see the skill there, but I could just see I don't know. He's just a little too
settle down.
He's a little too antsy.
Is it first team nervousness?
Yeah,
he reminds
settle down.
He reminds me of Gay when he first joined, and like it kind of was just all over the place. I think Cabango is just going to get thrown in the fire. Bennett is obviously not the most athletic. I think he'll be solid as a rock in the back, but don't expect him too much to push forward and make those diagonals. I think he'll just be like that solid middle center back that kind of cements the defense. I am so sick of him at right wing back. I can't wait. I can't wait to get this Loney in. Like, obviously we're back in this 3-person formation. I liked when we were back in that 4 at the back. I thought that he looked good when Steve made that change, but yeah, we really need to get Roberts back from injury. Well, that probably won't be for a while, or get the Loney from Manchester United in. And then finally, Liam Cullen, can you finish a goddamn
but
shot,
he shoots,
please?
Though. But
He does shoot. He had 2 wide open chances.
Wide open.
Yeah, and I mean, like, as much as I love Liam, like, you have to bury at least one of those.
Yeah, you're right. You're not wrong, but at least we have someone who has that mentality to shoot, right? Like, that was something that we were worried about last season. Like, who's gonna have that, like, that thirsty, like, I need to score a goal mentality? Because obviously IU had to bail us out a lot last season. Lowe had to do his job too, but we didn't have someone like Cullen who is trying to play like a true striker. So, like, did he mess up? Yes, but think about it. The kid looked like he put on an extra 15 pounds of just solid muscle over the offseason.
The effort's there for him.
I think he's going to start scoring goals. I think he'd have a really big season ahead of him.
Yeah. Mike, so just kind of going back up your point of like the back line and how we did there, I think the person that's going to struggle the most in this system is going to be Bennett. I think he is getting to the point where he's not going to be mobile enough. He's going to start kind of falling behind when the pace moves quick. I think he's going to be great, mentally back there, and he's going to be a rock. But when it gets to fast play, fast pace, I think he does struggle, and we saw that this past week. And I agree with you on Naughton. I mean, he's not a right wing back. I would have even rather seen like someone like Jordan Garrick out there who just at least can have a little bit of pace, can shake things up. But we have Whitaker, and I think he's going to be able to shoot a lot, and we saw that last year too. So I think we're going to get shots. It's just all about the quality shots, and we got to hit the quality shots for us to have a chance.
So I guess that brings us to our next part here. Who was your jack of the match? Brendan, who was your jack of the match?
I went with our goal scorer, Jamie Patterson. Pato, man. He was great. I thought the midfielder that looked the best. I mean, I thought Smith looked the best until he got hurt, but I thought Patterson controlled the midfield well, really attacked when he had the ability, created spaces, and scored a goal. I mean, we signed him 24 hours before we put that in the net. So
yeah,
good for him to really set the tone and come in with these boys and get after it.
Yeah, mine was actually Corey Smith, even though he came out of the game injured, off-ball injury. So I hope he recovers well and soon. How cool is it though to have former teammates score the first goal of the year for Swansea? Corey and Patterson, former Bristol teammates, setting up the play. The beautiful assist from Corey and for Jamie to send it home. So he was definitely my jack of the match. How about you, Mike?
I had Benda. Obviously talked really highly of him. Obviously ended up being team of the week. But just going off of like Patterson and Smith, I really like that dynamic before them. Big ups to him coming in 4 hours earlier and still netting for us. And Smith, hopefully he's all right, because Grimes really didn't impress me. And I'm hoping that Corey Smith can kind of drop back into that holding mid role where he plays right in front of the front line, because he is a great defensive midfielder. And I think that he would slot in there seamlessly. But he looked great up top, kind of going the more attacking midfield role, which we don't typically see from him.
Cool. And with that, that's left Swansea City in 21st place, which is something we've never really said before. I'm not sure if I ever want to say that number again. but for now, that's where we sit. We have a -1 goal differential going into our next match, which is not a championship match. We have our first Carabao Cup match. Mike, let's get some preview in.
Yeah, the cup that every single person seems to care about, the good old Carabao Energy Drink Cup. Yeah, we're playing at Reading tomorrow for, I guess, the 10th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. The match is not being streamed anywhere. Shout out Sky
Ridiculous.
Sport, scumbag company. But you can listen if you want to on BBC Radio Wales. And it's a cup game. It's early in the season. We have lack of depth. So probably going to get quite a bit of youngsters. Reading seems to play with a lot of attack, and they struggled quite a bit defensively last season. They played their first match of the season against Stoke City and lost 3-2 in kind of a thriller. Our boy Sam Surridge got that winner for them. Big ups to him. Yeah, I miss him. And they'll probably play their 4-5-1 that they typically do. It's going to be really interesting because they were under an EFL embargo the entire transfer window. So they haven't made a single signing to date. So they are very thin. So I'm not quite sure what kind of squad they're going to put up for this, especially with having their first match of the season come over the weekend and then them having won this following weekend in the league. Obviously, you care way more about the league than the Carabao Cup. So it's going to be very interesting. I imagine they'll have even more youth squad players than we do because they are not very deep. And their midfield is kind of ravaged, especially playing with that 5 deep midfield. Yeah, I can't quite predict, honestly, what our team will come out for. My ideal lineup with no COVID, Pirro, Joseph, Donda, Patterson, Fulton, Ollie Cooper, Manning, Bidwell, Brandon Cooper, Cabango, and Ledabodier with Hamer in goal. Kind of switch it up a little bit, give us something new, kind of a mix of some players like Cabango and Ledabodier that I think need to kind of develop more into the style at center back. And as well as like Donda, who really impressed me, or not really impressed me. He kind of like seemed like it's his perfect style. And he had some glimpses, but I think that he'll develop more, kind of getting more reps in the system.
I do want to talk about Danda in a second when you're done, Mike.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I feel like there are quite a few players that are just trying to fit into the squad, trying to crack in. Obviously, players like Pirro, we don't really know exactly what's going on with him. We have no idea, honestly, who will the starting 11 be by the end of the season, just because we have all these new players and a lot of players departing. So I think this will be a good chance just to see who can develop. And I'm really upset that I'm not going to be able to watch it.
Yeah.
No, for sure. I'm going to be upset also, but I'll listen to the game or at least have it playing in the background. I struggle listening to games without seeing any visuals, but I'm hoping Dana gets to start this week because he's still receiving a lot of ridicule from Swansea fans. I still like him as a player. I still think he needs to put on more weight as a midfielder. I think he still gets bullied off the ball a lot, but there were some really nice dribbles that he got through in the midfield to kind of open up the game a little bit for us on the more attacking side towards the end of the last game. So I'm kind of curious to know what are your expectations for Danda, if you had any, or just your overall thoughts about him.
I don't have necessarily expectations for him because with the new manager, you don't know who's going to play and whatnot. But I think he definitely fits this system more with Russell Martin at the head, with this kind of a little bit more attacking style look to it. I thought we were a way more defensive team under Steve Cooper, and he just didn't fit that. And like you said, he's a lot smaller than a lot of players out there. Championship's a physical league, so if we can get a kind of a hold on how to deal with that and keep the ball on himself, I think he's got a pretty good ceiling for him.
Cool. And what are your predictions, guys? What we got?
I got 2-1 Swansea. I honestly, it's just going to be an ugly game. Who knows? I think we end up willing a way through, maybe some late subs on, but yeah, it should be pretty ugly. I mean, we're trying to develop our style. They're very thin, so they're going to be having a bunch of younger players hopping in that probably aren't as experienced. So yeah, let's just kind of see how it goes.
Yeah, I've got a 3-1 win. And like you were saying, Mike, I think, with Reading not bringing any players in and losing players like Michael Olise, who is like their best player last year, I think they're probably going to throw a straight up youth squad out there. I don't think this year is going to be a time for them to kind of compete in the League Cup. I think they're going to focus a lot more on the season, keeping their players healthy. So I have a 3-1 win for us. I think that we're going to have that squad very similar to what you said, Mike, but, we'll just have a little bit more age out there, a little bit more experience. That's kind of going to get us the job done there.
Definitely.
Cool. Awesome. And before we go into that, it is definitely important to note that this Saturday we do also have a game against Sheffield United. That's going to be an interesting one, right, guys? There's a couple players on that team that used to play for the Swans. They've just been relegated to the championship. So, Mike, let's talk about Sheffield United.
Yeah, obviously the return of good old Ali McBurney and Ryan Brewster, two former great strikers who haven't quite found their way over at Sheffield United, but they will be back. They came off the bench for the first league game of the season, both of them. So I'm interested to see if they'll end up getting a start. They most likely play a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3. Their new manager, Slavica Jokanovic, I think that's how you say it. He is the first ever foreign manager for Sheffield United in their club history.
Interesting.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to watch how both of these managers end up playing this game, because they are both brand new managers. They both want to play possession based and have an urge to constantly move forward. I think Sheffield United is a little bit more aggressive of a possession-based style than we play. They like to have a lot of overlapping fullbacks, a lot of diagonal passes, and they play very quick. His style is always forward, never back. Doesn't like to make back passes. It'll be a lot. I think it'll be a very scrappy game. He was hired on, I believe, about a month and a half, 2 months ago. However, due to COVID, I think they missed about a month of training due to an outbreak within Sheffield United. So I think they maybe got one preseason match in against Norwich. But besides that, haven't really had a lot of time to develop the system. So we're pretty scrappy. Obviously, with Russell Martin's high pressure approach, it could cause some mistakes in the back with them trying to do all this aggressive play and then pushing their fullbacks up so high. And yeah, probably we'll see a similar style from our first game, probably similar starting 11. And my prediction is 3-2 Swansea win.
That is a bold prediction there for me, Mike. I like it. I appreciate it. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Sheffield United win. I think this is going to be the toughest game in a while for myself to watch. Seeing Ole McBurney and Ryan Brewster out there. McBurney is one of my favorite players we've had in a long time. So that's going to suck a lot to see that out there. And knowing Swansea and the way things go for us, they're probably both going to score. But when it comes to their whole roster, they're just incredibly talented. They didn't lose a lot from last year. They've got a lot of pieces still there that they can work with. So I think they're going to find their form and come back off their loss and beat us 2-1.
Before we go into the half, Mike, sorry, where do you find 3 goals in Swansea's team?
I find it through just a lot of scrap, a lot of high pressure mistakes coming through, honestly. I mean, it's just hard when you have two offensive styles, whether we win or lose. I think this will be a high scoring affair because both teams want to get forward. Both teams want possession of the ball, and we're going to press them as they're trying to just cut straight through our line. So I think that there's just going to be mistakes made, and we just have to capitalize. We can't have these misses like Colin had if he does get the chance again, because I think there will be chances there, because I don't think their center backs are very comfortable with doing what our center backs also aren't comfortable with doing, and they both have to learn it on the go, and we'll see what happens.
It's going to be a scrappy one. That match will be played on ESPN Plus, so make sure you know somebody who knows somebody who's got you that link and stream, unless you have the account yourself. I believe ESPN Plus just raised their prices $2 a month more. Where are they getting that in this economy? I have no idea, but if you got it,
the goddamn mouse.
Mickey Mouse, man, it's just what a bastard. Anyways, moving on. We'll be right back after the half to talk more transfers, some outside of Swansea State news, and hang tight. Welcome back to the second half of the official Stateside Jacks podcast, where we're going to talk about transfers, rumors. I don't know. Reddit gods tell us these things. We just report what we read. I don't know what else to tell you people. We're not sports journalists. This is just what we find on the interwebs. And then at the end of the show, we'll go into footing news worth mentioning because there has been a lot going on. But obviously, I am not the person who talks transfer news. I'll leave that to Mike and Brendan. Mike, take it away.
Yeah, so we obviously had a decent amount of incoming and outgoing players. Kyle Joseph, Joel Perot, and Jamie Patterson up top. They all came in. Hopefully are going to be able to slot in. Obviously, we saw Patterson 24 hours after he signed, delivered us a goal. So pretty exciting there. As well as we have Liam Walsh. So we have a pair of Bristol City teammates coming in and joining us. And then big incoming, Russell Martin from MK Dons is our new manager. And we also signed I think U21 Everton goalkeeper, Nico De Freitas Hansen. We'll see how well he develops and if he gets a shot, but I don't think he'll really be in the mix much this year. So interesting to see how that goes. Don't know if you guys have any thoughts on our signings for the season so far.
Yeah. I don't know why, but for some reason, Kyle Joseph's name sticks out the most to me. Ever since we signed him, I think he is, definitely a player for the future, but I think he's got a lot of growth, a lot of potential there. Seeing what he did for Wigan last year, I scored like 6 goals in like 10 games or something for him, before making that move over to us. But I think we've had a decent window for everything that's gone on. I think it could have been a lot worse. I think we could be in a situation where we haven't signed anybody. I think there's a couple of teams out there that have done that, where they haven't really made any moves, and they're going to pay the price for that this year. I mentioned Preston with you before we were talking. I don't think they've made any deals, and I think they're going to struggle as well. So bringing guys in and, just getting new faces in and, keeping everyone, competitive for their spot, I think is the main thing that we've done. And, like Martin said, there's still a lot of business to do. So exciting, not, A+ or anything like that, but, it's a window that we can be excited for and, be happy about.
For me, I'd go with Joel Pirro. I think a player coming from a team like PSV Eindhoven, they did finish second in their league last year with like 72 points, which is nothing to sneeze at, So you got to imagine that he's coming from a team that was pretty good with training, pretty good with teaching philosophy on a team, and obviously, should be a decent player, right? Like you'd hope a player coming from a team of that caliber can make an impact, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking forward the most so far. Obviously we still have a couple transfer to come into, but even still, based off what we are rumored, I'm not sure if there's anyone that like I'm really getting excited over. So I think Joel is probably the player that I'm going to have hold to the highest caliber this season.
Yeah, and then as well, we have some outgoings as well. I'm just going to go through the list of players that we don't really care about first. Declan John, see you later. Barry McKay. He had like 2 glimpses ever. I remember he hit like a wonder goal in like preseason. But see you later. Kieran Freeman didn't really impress whatsoever. He was given like few appearances, didn't quite do it.
He made one appearance.
Yeah, he didn't fit in that wing back role at all. Honestly, I'll say it. Jordi Govea, free Jordi. He was quite a meme. Came from Real Madrid. He had a bunch of injury problems. He got released. Sad for a lot of people in that. And then now that we get into it, Andre Ayew, obviously we talked about it before. Really sad that he's gone, but obviously couldn't afford his wages. And I believe he's playing in the Middle East now. Yep. So he found someone to pay for his wages that we couldn't afford. Steve Cooper, discussed it a lot already. Obviously he's gone, mutual agreement. George Byers to Sheffield Wednesday. I really hope that he is given a run of like health where he can actually show what he can do. He showed quite a few glimpses of his skill, great shot, but he could never seem to stay healthy and produce a consistent run. So I'm hoping that he goes down to Sheffield Wednesday and produces, but we'll see. That's really all we have outgoing. Not really a ton. Obviously, Andre Ayew is the big one that we're missing. Steve Cooper as well. For the most part, most of the team still seems intact at the moment. Obviously, we have the rumors about Grimes leaving. That's most likely happening. Didn't seem like he was fully invested in the last game. Fulham probably swooping in on him. And then Connor Roberts, if he didn't pick up that injury, probably also would have had those rumors going as well. But it seems that we're at least securing him until the winter transfer window. And I'm just interested to see what happens. I don't really think that we have many people leaving besides Grimes. And then we also talked about the Manchester United loanee coming in. And as well, we have I think striker from Ipswich Town? Yeah, midfield. Yeah, Flynn Downs. Yep. So we do have some people coming in. Obviously, we said the financial support was coming in from the club. And so we'll see exactly what happens. But I have some promise. And I hopefully we can finish the transfer window strong without losing too many people.
Yeah, no, I got big time catfished online reading of the whole George Byers transfer situation, thinking that Barry Bannon was going to come back in the direction of ours from Sheffield Wednesday, who is way too damn good for League One, but it looks like they're going to keep a hold of him. But I thought he was going to come back and it was going to be like George Byers plus cash, later for Barry Bannon. But clearly we just
when was the last time either of you can recall a straight player trade or player trade with cash? Like I can't recall any.
I feel like PSG and Barcelona have done it before.
We had one with Villa as well for Jordan Ayew. We sent Neil Taylor that way, and we
that's
Ayew in the summer when Paul Clement came in.
Sheesh.
That's the last one I think that we did a straight up swap for. I think, and I don't even know if that was a straight up swap.
Interesting. Yeah, because you always hear about like trades and stuff, like especially in MLS, right? Like Red Bulls traded Florian Veloz to Cincinnati. Well, who did we trade him for? No, we didn't trade him for anybody, just cash.
Yeah,
like,
no, exactly.
It's
so different with American sports too.
Yeah.
Like, we're just so used to things being traded and every major sport.
That's just the most Americanized thing that you can find right there, where we have to call everything a trade, even if it's like selling off a player in a transfer.
Yeah.
So as we're recording this live, I have Discord opened up to our Stateside Jacks Discord server. In our Transfer Chalk channel, someone just wrote, we have secured Flynn Downs from Ipswich for $550K with add-ons. Last year, apparently Swansea approached them with a $1.5 million offer, but it was rejected. But now that he's no longer a part of the plans, it looks like this is a done deal on a bargain. So shout out to the team for getting a good bargain for once, instead of getting screwed and be on the short end of the stick this time around. But
it's
we'll take it.
550K with about 700K in add-ons.
It's not terrible,
but I'm okay with that. If he produces, he'll get the add-ons and it'll be better for the club anyway.
So question for you guys, is there any position in particular you guys think that we really should be looking for before this transfer window ends?
Yeah, and it's not going to be a popular one. I think the popular answer is a not striker, goal scorer, but I think a center back that can play the ball out of the back and can move forward is by far our most important person to get after watching Saturday's game. I think we need somebody that can control back there. Losing Gahey, I mean, he would have been perfect in this, format, but we don't have him and we don't have that guy. And I think that's going to be the biggest controller of the field and how we play. So I say a ball controlling center back, almost like a sweeper.
Yeah. And I think that, center back as well. Someone who's good on his feet. But also I think an attacking mid will be pretty good. Will kind of be very important to the system. Obviously we have Fulton and we have Smith who can kind of hold back the midfield and play that holding mid role really well. With Grimes disappearing, most likely, we'll need them to fill in. I think they'll do that well, but I just can't see much of a strength at attacking mid. And I think Jamie Patterson probably play there. Liam Walsh hopefully will be able to slot in as well. Kyle Joseph plays center forward. Can't remember if it's him or Pirro that has more of like kind of a hold up style of play. They might be able to kind of drop back into that. I think he could possibly slot into that, but I think we'll just need an attacking mid who I think can hold up the ball well and then be able to pass it through, because obviously we want to get forward and we want to make as many passes as possible.
So I'm curious, not to bring up the most recent game again, but how did we feel about our free kicks and corner kicks on the weekend, right? Because, we had a free kick right outside the box, which would have been typical Conor Hurahan like style free kick goal situation. Is a set piece taker something that we should be looking for? Because I don't feel like we really have someone who can take those at the moment, or maybe we just haven't seen them yet, or because it's only been one game and no one's really had the opportunity to really take a couple of them. But it was just something that kind of stuck out to me a little bit.
I think for now, I think Grimes is okay with the position. I think he'll keep it for now. That's not a long-term thing. I'm not saying he's like. I'm not saying he should have. I'm not saying he should have the position, but I think for now he'll have it. And it, it's probably still a test thing that we're kind of getting used to everybody, and so is the gaffer, and they'll figure that out when it comes to it. But I hope he doesn't stay as our free kick guy, but I don't think we necessarily need to go out and get somebody. I'm kind of hoping that we have somebody that can put a quality ball into the box.
Word. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think Patterson looked pretty good from the corner as well. I just don't really see Grimes put one on target very often. I don't think that he should be that close. I don't mind him taking one from like deeper out, like kind of that deep in swinging ball. But yeah, I don't really think there were that much need of it. I think we can find someone to slot in along the way. But yeah, I think we're pretty set on that.
I think we can agree that they were being very generous to Grimes by putting a player on the floor underneath the wall. That was very kind of them. Anyways, before we go on to footy news worth mentioning, let's talk about what are we drinking here, gentlemen.
Yes.
This is many people's favorite topic of the podcast, because obviously we don't know what the hell we're talking about when it comes to the Swans. But today, out of my beautiful Stateside Jacks pint glass, I am drinking a Guinness Nitro Cold Brew, which tastes delicious. Not gonna lie, I was a little skeptical. My buddy left it here, but I was like, why not? And it is divine. I would strongly recommend it. It's got a very nice coffee smell and a little aromatic, and it tastes, and the feeling when you're drinking it is like a normal Guinness. Brendan, what you got over there?
Oh yeah, you guys have probably seen me been drinking over here the whole time, but I started off with a regular Yingling lager, classic. Good after dinner drink, chilling, and then I switched over to the Golden Pilsner from Yingling, so nice. It's a little lighter now, so staying with the Yinglings.
There you
going
go.
Going down like water.
And Mike, you got a thermos in your hands. What we got?
I got a nice sweet pecan coffee going. It's pretty delicious.
Teas, coffees, and more coming from Mike in Chicago. All right, so let's get into our last segment of the show. Thank you all for sticking out with us so long. But let's get into it. So the U.S. women's national team receives the bronze medal at the Olympics after a heartbreaking loss to Canada in the semifinals. They just weren't there that day, but they did show out against New Zealand, absolutely scoring bangers. Megan Rapinoe scores not one, but two Olympicos in one game. Absolutely insane. Congrats to them on the bronze medal. The U.S. men's national team are the winners of the 2021 Gold Cup, winning over Mexico with a team that could arguably be our C team. What a tournament that was.
We're just simply better than them now, and they can't do anything about it.
Dos Acero.
First, the Nations League game, which we won against them with our A team. And then now this. And Mexico brought a strong team, arguably their best team.
Yeah.
Arguably the best. We own you now.
We own you, Mexico.
That's it. FIFA rankings, USA, top 10. Who would have thunk?
Yeah. They can throw as many piss jugs as they want. They're not getting those W's back.
I'm still not the biggest fan of Berhalter, but that's a different question to be angry at when we lose like World Cup qualifiers or something. But for now, the boys in red and white and blue are killing it out there, just dominating Mexico. Looking good. Ready for the qualifiers coming up.
I'm ready for those qualifiers too. And I'm looking forward to, hopefully, if Mexico can get their shit together with COVID, I'm looking forward to a nice away day, USA away at Azteca. I hear all the stories, and it's in January, so it would be
a good time to go.
Decent time to go. Escape the winter. All three of us live in some pretty cold places, so that would be one for the history books for sure. I'm certain of it. But moving on, probably not the most ridiculous transfer news to happen this window, because I'll leave that one to Brendan, because just thinking about it is going to make me throw up a little bit. But Messi leaves Barcelona, and what seemed to be a very emotional experience for those in the city and on broadcast and in the soccer world as a whole. I think Messi leaving Barcelona was probably more worldly impactful than Ronaldo leaving Real Madrid. Just seeing the press conference, looking at the story that was Messi at Barcelona. He unfortunately rumored not really challenging himself going to PSG, but what an amazing tenure at Barcelona. Any comments from either of you?
Yeah. In my opinion, I think Messi is the greatest of all time, greatest to ever do it. And I'm very blessed to have grown up in a generation to watch both him and Ronaldo, but him play his full career at Barcelona and a club like that that's so massive, and he's meant so much to that city, and it sucks to see him leave. And I'm not a Barcelona fan or anything, but I would always root for him, always enjoy, because Messi was just such an incredible person to see on the pitch. When he was playing next to Suarez and Neymar, when he was playing next to Iniesta and Xavi, and the Champions Leagues with Ronaldinho, it was just incredible. And not having him there is going to be weird. And not only for Barcelona, but for La Liga. And it's going to hurt La Liga, I think, a lot.
Yeah,
not having either of them there. I think it's going to change El Clasico. But, I don't exactly understand how it all went down with the, La Liga sanctions and them not being able to pay. But, it's an era coming to an end. Yeah, but they would go to Super League. It doesn't make any sense. But it's an end of an era, and it really is. And it kind of just is puts in perspective that holy shit, these guys only come around once in, a generation. So seeing him leave, he's still going to be on the pitch. But like you said, he's going to PSG. It's not going to be a challenge. He's not going to be the same player, I don't think. But yeah, just sad, Barcelona's his place. Camp Nou is Messi's land. So it's going to be different.
Yeah, I mean, they lost their best player or the best player of all time just due to greed. So I can't really feel bad for them there. They kind of brought this upon themselves. That's pretty much all I got.
And Brendan, bring us into the strangest, craziest, ridiculous transfer news, which kind of feeds into the biasness that Welsh fans have about English players and the fees that Welsh players receive versus English players. Let's talk about that for a second.
All right. So Manchester City, obviously, buying players out the wazoo, have been for the last 8 to 10 years. Just they do what they do, and in every window they kind of seem to surpass the ridiculousness that they passed the last window. And with this window, it's Jack Grealish and £100 million. Jack Grealish, and I'm not saying Jack Grealish is not a role is a class player. He is, but $100 million for Jack Grealish is just crazy. And money buys everything you want in this game. And it's clearly shown as an English player going to a massive English club. He got his bag. I'm sure his money is big. And I don't know if you guys saw today, they revealed him at the Etihad Stadium. I thought it was so cringe, so awkward. Yeah, it was a big deal. 100 million, their biggest ever. So
crazy
hopefully
stuff, man.
I don't know where he's gonna play. They have 25 attackers that are all world class.
Not our problem.
But with that being said, will they sign Harry Kane now? Because I think they still will. I think they're going to spend 250 million this window. I think they could go for 130
that'd be ridiculous.
I don't think they will. I think literally Tottenham is holding him hostage at this moment, and there's really not much that he could do. I mean, he just reported to play for Tottenham this weekend. And I think they're playing against Manchester City this weekend to start off.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what exactly goes on. Because I mean, he had been staying in the States and finally reported over right before the season started.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, will he play against Manchester City, the team that's about to buy him? Will he hold out and kind of force a sale? Tottenham's what Dan Levy has been pretty strict about what he wants to do, and it doesn't seem like he's bending too much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with that, we're going to wrap up the show here. As always, we wouldn't be doing this without your support. So thank you all for listening. Please be sure to do all the things that every podcast asks you to do. And before I actually say we'll see you next time, we received a 3-star review on Apple Podcasts. So if you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please hit us with that 5-star review. We would appreciate it.
Who gave us a 3-star
average us out a little bit.
It was me. I had to keep myself humble.
It's kind of, dampen my style a little bit, And if you are watching this on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe to this video. Really appreciate it. We will see you next time. and up the Swans.
Up the Swans.
Up the Swans. See you guys.